guys, Caleb here, back again with more Red Knot, and this time we have The Missing Ink by Karen E. Olsen. I was recently at the bookstore, which is a bad place to be if you're a bibliophile. I thought the covers looked really cool, and it was something I haven't read about. Kind of, like, I haven't read books about a tattoo artist solving crimes, so why the hell not? I know nothing about these books, except that it is a tattoo artist, I think, stationed in Las Vegas somewhere, solving crimes. So, the cover, like I said, I like it, but I don't know if you could really say it means anything necessarily to the plot, but it certainly has a nice style to it for being a tattoo-themed protagonist. I like the colors, I like the overall look. I don't know who the artist is. Let me see if I can find that. Unless the artist is the author, which would be cool. Well, I don't know who the artist is for the cover, but I do like it. Again, it doesn't really focus on like what the mystery is, because I mean there's plenty of ink on the cover and in the pages of this book, but there's just, you know, it's a nice image to go along with, I guess, the theme of tattoos if you're more into the cel-shaded style. I hope I made some sense there, but I guess I didn't. So, let's see what the book has to say about itself. A winner, crisp dialogue, a red-hot setting, and a smart, sassy tattoo protagonist. Viva Las Vegas! Susan McBride, author of the Debonte Dropout Mysteries. The first in a brand new series, a tattoo shop mystery. Also, the author is author of the Annie Seymour Mysteries, which mean jack all to me because I've never even heard of this series, that series, or this author. So, yeah. To the back. Brett Kavanaugh is a tattoo artist and owner of the Painted Lady, catering to high-profile clients in Las Vegas. But in her free time, she does a little investigating, too, because murder really gets under her skin. I'm sure it does. When a girl makes an appointment to get Devotion ink, okay, sure, with the name of her fiancé embedded in a heart, Brett takes the job. No shit, considering I'm sure she would like the money. But the girl never shows. The next thing Brett knows, the police are looking for her mysterious client. And the name this woman wanted on the tattoo isn't her fiancé's. An alliance with an unlikely partner leads Brett to a dead body, a suave Englishman, hey, it's Joe, and an Elvis karaoke bar. Not really that surprised all this shit can be found in Las Vegas, I'm gonna be honest. And who is the tattooed stranger stalking her? Brett draws lines between the clues, unwittingly putting herself in danger. I'm sure it's unwittingly. But she intends to see justice done, and since death, like a tattoo, is permanent. Tattoos aren't actually permanent. It's expensive to get them removed, but you can remove them. Praise for Karen E. Olsen. Olsen is the real thing. A natural storyteller with a lucid style and a wonderful sense of place. Sense of place? That's new. New York Times best-selling author Laura Lipman. First rate. New York Times best-selling author Lee Child. I guess they really couldn't give a damn, so they're just like, is something quick and classy. It's first rate. There you go. Did I read this book? Hell no. Really, that's my impression with some of these. It's like they really didn't give a shit. They were just paid for their time to be put on the book as advertisement. Chapter 1. I've made grown men cry. Opening paragraph, friends. It's not a crime. No, but that might mean you're an asshole. I wasn't sure exactly what the cop was doing, hovering outside the shop. Why don't you go ask him? Was he expecting a robbery? Was he just giving us a little free security? Go ask him. I pulled the door open and stepped outside. Can I help you, officer? I politely asked his profile. I knew how to talk to cops, keep it cordial, no sudden moves. I guess you haven't known many police officers in your life. He was studying the frosted letters on the window, his hands on his hips. He didn't look ready to grab the gun or the nightstick that flanked his stocky frame. He turned his head slowly, his mouth set in a grim line, eyes narrowed as they settled on my face. It unsettled me. I would expect that to be a single paragraph, but sure, we can continue with that. Usually people stared at the ink on my left arm, a detailed replica of Monet's water lily garden. I'll look this up later. Complete with a weeping willow and footbridge, or the dragon that creeps up over my right breast under my tank top. I don't see no dragon on this character here. Nothing to even suggest that there was a dragon or anything. Anyway, back to the story. You work here? He finally asked, his voice as deep as I had expected. I'm the owner, Brett Kavanaugh. A twitch in his left cheek told me he didn't expect that. Even though the name of the shop is The Painted Lady, which really means nothing, a guy could be running the damn thing, honestly. And he'd obviously known that, since he'd been staring at the letters long enough, or maybe he recognized my last name. From where and what? What can I do for you? I asked again, when he didn't say anything. I'm looking for a girl. I chuckled. This is Vegas. A lot of guys are looking for girls. But this is a tattoo shop, not a brothel. No shit, Sherlock. He didn't even crack a smile. Which is weird, because that's the kind of thing a cop would say to you to see if you would laugh. And if you don't, that means you're weird and suspicious. I watch a lot of cop shows, okay? Okay, so the name of the shop might not have been a great idea, and occasionally we did get calls asking for girls. But this was the first time a cop had come around. Are you sure about this? Because I'm pretty sure cops get tattoos too. I folded my arms across my chest. You can't stay outside of my shop. We've got clients. It's not exactly good for business. Well, it depends on what kind of business you're doing. Though I know that some of the not savory kind of people do also usually go to tattoo shops. Not to say that tattoo shops aren't good businesses, but, I mean, all kinds of people go and get tattoos. I had another thought, unless, of course, you want to come in. He ignored my question, because he's an asshole, I guess, and I couldn't demand he either tell me what he was doing in front of my shop, or that I would call the cops, probably the real cops, and have him booted out and away from my store. I about said shop and then became store. He ignored my question, reached over, and pulled a photograph out of his breast pocket. Though when you said reached over, that seems like he's reaching over to you, so maybe you want to rephrase that, author. He held it up so I could see it. Recognize her? I stepped closer to see it better. Because that's safe when you say this guy's a cop, but you haven't said anything that makes him look like a cop. Is he in uniform? You say he's got a nightstick and a gun, but that's it. Having a nightstick and a gun doesn't make you a cop. Why, are you looking for her? I asked. The cop, whose nameplate dubbed him Willis, shook his head. Do you recognize her? Wait, so, okay, I understand maybe like confidentiality thingy, like don't tell people who could be witnesses or whatever, but I don't know. I don't think there'd be anything wrong for an officer to say, yeah, have you seen her? I need to know if you've seen her. Can you tell me if you've seen her? Hey, have you seen her? Also, why you need to know that, who the fuck knows? Oh, I know, because you're the protagonist of a murder mystery story. The cop, whose nameplate dubbed him Willis, shook his head. Do you recognize her? Is she dead? No. That narrowed it down. Why do you need to know this bullshit? What's up with her, then? Willis took a deep breath, obviously irritated, as he should be. It ain't none of your fucking business. Have you seen this lady or not? If the answer is no, then he'll fuck off and leave. So make up your fucking mind. You want a cop in front of your business, or you want him to come the fuck inside? I didn't much care. You cared earlier. You wanted him to go away. Make up your mind, lady. I was curious. I had a half an hour until my next client, so I had some time to kill. Or you could be trying to get people to come into your shop and get a spontaneous tattoo. It's kind of douchey, but hey, you made some money today. More money than you did yesterday, probably. You haven't seen her. It was a new tack for him, and he made the transition smoothly. Are you checking at every shop? Yes. This poor cop, man, he's probably just super fucking annoyed by this lady, and I wouldn't blame him. At least we weren't being discriminated against. How and by who and why? I wondered how long it took him to go into shoes. Shooz. Those stiletto heels could be even more intimidating than my tats. You know, I'm gonna say, while I might know that tattoo can be shortened to tat, maybe you shouldn't use it in a book when describing, when in your narration. Because a lot of people may not know that tat is short for tattoo. You can easily solve this by maybe she is openly expressing this to the cop, and he's like, well, I would be really surprised if he didn't know what a tat was. But, just somebody super naive and out of place going, what the hell's a tat? And then she'd be like, it's short for tattoo, you moron. And then if you wanted to use tat in the rest of the story, fine. The Venetian Grand Canal shoppers are what Da Vinci would have designed if he were a capitalist. Besides shoes, my favorite store, of course, because you have to be stereotypically feminine. There was Ann Taylor, Cad Oro, which doesn't tell me what any of these shops are, except for Ann Taylor, I know is closed from work. Kenneth Cole, Gandini, and Davidoff, among others. Then there's the Painted Lady. First, I figured some palms got greased for the shop to get this location. It's sandwiched between Barney's New York and Jack Gallery. Which, I need some context here, because everybody who picks up this book is gonna know what the fuck kind of shops these are. Again, with the exception of Ann Taylor, I don't know what any of these are. I know they're stores, but what kind of stores? Shoes is a really shitty name for a shoe store. But, okay, I can figure that out. Cadioro? What the hell does that sell? Is it a restaurant? Does it sell clothes? Is it a thrift store? What the fuck is that? What's Gandini? I've never heard of that. Davidoff sounds familiar, but I still don't know what that is. So, go into a little more detail, friend. But I found out that Flip Armstrong, the guy I bought the business from, apparently had tattooed a prominent city politician's name in a very private place on a local hooker. Were you drunk when you decided this was a good idea? It's amazing what a little blackmail will do for you. The only prerequisite was that we had to look respectable. No street shop flash in the windows. What the hell does that mean? No sign advertising tattoos. Then how would anybody know that it's a tattoo shop? Anyone walking by would think we are an art gallery. Through the glass windows, passerbys could see the long mahogany table that served as our front desk, a spray of orchids perched on its edge. Paintings hung on the cream-colored walls on either side that hid the 4 private rooms behind them. The blonde laminate flooring was sleek, sophisticated. Shouldn't there be an and not a comma there? What the public couldn't see was the staff room behind the second room on the right, and the small waiting area with a long black leather sofa and glass coffee table covered with tat magazines. Again, establish that word means tattoo. I don't know how common knowledge that is, but I think it would be good to establish that before you start using shorthand. Behind the room, on the left, a large vertical comic book version of one of Dega's ballerinas adored the back wall. Who Dega is? I should be familiar with that, but again, I don't know. Got a big job ahead of you. You working alone? I wasn't answering Willis's questions, and his irritation was growing. Just yes or no, did you see her or not? I shrugged. I may know how to talk to cops, so clearly you don't, you're just being a dick. But I also knew not to say anything that might incriminate me, or anyone else. Because you're a dick. Do you live in, like, a really shitty part of town? I mean, yeah, Las Vegas is kind of a dangerous place because it's a gambling city. But hell, man. If your shop is in a ritzy part of town, what the fuck do you gotta worry about? The cops should be your best friend on a daily basis. He shoved the picture back in his pocket and brushed past me in long strides. His face flushed red. Another uniformed cop was coming out of Govita across the way. Now, I think I know that from Savannah. That's chocolates, right? That's super fancy chocolates. Maybe he needed a chocolate-covered strawberry to get him through the rest of his canvas. Again, maybe you should establish what some of these words mean before you start using shorthand. But I turned my attention back to Willis when I heard a shout. He collided with a family of four as he crossed the footbridge over the canal that ran past St. Mark's Square, because he's got really bad eyesight, I guess. A gondola sailed under the bridge, the gondolier never missing a stroke. For dramatic effect, I guess. I could never be fooled into thinking this was really Venice, but the tourists like to believe the illusion. I'm pretty sure that if I'm in Las Vegas, I don't expect Venice. And if I'm in Venice, I don't expect Las Vegas. Las Vegas is one big illusion. No shit. I went back into the shop, thinking about that picture. It hadn't fooled me either. There was no mistaking it. That girl had been in the shop 2 days ago. She had wanted a devotion tattoo. And that's where the chapter ends, apparently. Just cuts off and ends and... Okay. Why she couldn't tell the cop this, I don't have a clue. Chapter 2. Bitsy was getting on my nerves. She was dragging her stool around the staff room as if it were a puppy on a leash, and the scraping against the floor echoed through the shop like fingernails on a chalkboard. Do you have to do that? I asked, wishing the sound of my machine would drown it out, but it was merely a soft whine butting up against the cyclone. She poked her head into the room where I was trying to finish up the portrait of Jesus on a guy's back, her face level with mine, even though I was sitting. Okay, so if she's an employee of yours, and she's being a fucking asshole, also, why the hell does she need to drag her seat around? Also, couldn't she just pick the damn thing up and walk around with it if she needed to? Like, this sounds like characters are being asshats and annoying for the sake of being asshats and annoying. Bitsy is a little person. The stool is her way of compensating. Still, couldn't she have picked the damn thing up and walked around or something? Like, damn. I was ready to compensate her just to get rid of the thing. I will pretend that you did not ask me that, she said, tossing her blonde curls back over her shoulder. We were both a little on edge. Why? The guy draped over the chair in front of me ignored us. He'd been here before, actually a couple of times. A portrait of his daughter was on his upper arm, and his mother, who died the year before, was on his chest. Jesus was new to the party. It was his version of the Holy Trinity, and I was enabling him by permanently embedding it in ink on his body. Again, it's not permanent. If Sister Mary... Oh my goodness. Eucharista at Our Lady of Perpetual Mercy School could see me now, she'd rent my hands 5 times with a ruler. And then I would go complain to the cops that she was abusing the students. Because, ow, that fucking hurt. Are you going to tell Tim? Bitsy asked. Tell him what? About the girl. What else? Bitsy and Willis would tie in an irritation contest. Good for them. I might come in a close second. I'll tell him when I get home. You could have told that cop about Tim. Bitsy didn't get it. If I told Willis that Detective Tim Kavanagh was my brother, it would seem like I was going over his head. How? Which was what I planned to do. Why? However, he didn't have to know that. We'd already established a tense relationship. Because you were a jackass. Anyway, he may have put 2 and 2 together when he'd heard my last name. I highly doubt this. There are probably a lot of Kavanaghs in the world. How many Kavanaghs were here in Las Vegas anyway? Grab a phone book and find out. That plus the fact that Tim and I were relative carbon copies of each other would have been even more of a clue. You know, me and my brother look alike, but he obviously has shorter hair than I do. And he's also taller than I am. Oh, and by the way, his hair is black and I'm fatter because I'm a girl. That's how that shit works. And clues were his business. Bitsy and I had been over and over the girl's visit the other night. She'd seemed a little skittish, but we'd chalked that up to it being her first time. She didn't even get the ink. She just made an appointment and then never showed. You're sure it was her in the picture? Bitsy asked for the upteenth time. Yes, I felt like a broken record. If it was a recent picture, I could tell that even though it was a photocopy, she was in her late 20s, the long dark hair pulled into a fashionably tousled knot, a pair of big black Jackie O sunglasses outlined in rhinestones on top of her head, her face white and narrow with brilliant blue eyes that indicated colored contact lenses. I couldn't tell what she wore for the snapshot, but when she showed up here she was wearing a thin white lacy baby doll top with spaghetti straps, a black bra peeking through, because you would wear a black bra with a white shirt, and skinny jeans with strappy red sandals. At first glance, she could have been one of those rich girls partying in Vegas for the weekend, or a working girl. She wouldn't have been wearing jeans if she was a working girl. She would have been showing off as much skin as possible. It was hard to tell, since the wardrobes were similar these days. She said her name was Kelly Masters. She said the concierge at the Bellagio had recommended us. She said, please stop saying she said. She said she wanted to surprise her fiancé on their wedding night. So much for the working girl theory. Because working girls couldn't have a fiancé? The diamond on her hand could have been listed as one of the wonders of the world, the way it flashed like a strobe across the walls when the light hit it. So you thought she was a hooker before she mentioned her fiancé, and then that's when you actually bothered to notice that she had a diamond ring on her finger. From the small bag over her shoulder, Kelly took a rather rudimentary drawing of a heart, with what I suppose were 2 hands clasped underneath it. I want his name, Matthew, too, she said. I'm not big on devotion tats. Relationships might start out great, but statistics were against most. You know what? You wouldn't give 2 shits. What you care about is money. This lady wants to hire you. Who the fuck cares if it's something she herself will regret later in life? You don't care. She's paying you money. It's your job. It's your business. This is how you make an income. Yes, that's kind of dick, but that's how you make money. But statistics were against most people, and relationships that had any foothold in Vegas were dubious, in my opinion. How do you know this relationship started in Vegas? Why couldn't they have decided to go to Vegas to see if they wanted to go there for their honeymoon. I mean, who the fuck knows? What happens in Vegas may stay here, but tattoos didn't have that option. They went home with you. No shit, Sherlock. Why the fuck do you think she wants one? That said, a client is a client. Then stop bitching about it. And as David St. Hubbins of Spinal Tap noted, it's a fine line between stupid and clever. Because the author thinks she's so cute, referencing all this different stuff. I was used to straddling that line myself, so I cut her a break. We made an appointment for the next day. I told her I'd make a proper sketch. She could take a look, and I could make changes if she wanted. Then she left. I carried out my part of the bargain. My sketch was much more elaborate than the simple one she'd handed me, but Bitsy doubted she'd come back. We'd even bet on it. My wallet was $100 lighter. Okay, sure, because I needed to know how much the bet actually was. They don't say Vegas is for suckers for nothing because you're clever, author. Please stop. Wonder where she is, Bitsy said thoughtfully. Maybe she and Matthew had a fight, I suggested. I gave Jesus' nose a little more shadow before lifting my foot off the pedestal. The machine stopped whirling, and I assessed the Son of God before me. Not bad, if I did say so myself. Cops don't come looking for you unless something awful's happened, Bitsy said. You're done, I told the young man, handing him a small mirror so he could take a look at himself, in the full-length one on the staff room door. As he went to see my handiwork, I shook my head at Bitsy. He said she wasn't dead. I don't think he actually said that. I think, really, he doesn't know anything about her. She's missing. So he probably doesn't fucking know. He could have been lying. I mulled that over for a second. Willis didn't seem like the type to lie. Then again, I didn't know him that well. Also, it's none of your fucking business. Why would a cop tell you about somebody else's business? Unless you needed to know. The young man came back and handed me the mirror. It's awesome, he said. Sister Mary Icrista felt the same way, although she had her own descriptive adjectives. I covered the ink with saran wrap, taping it down and going through the laundry list of how to take care of the tattoo. The skin was the color of bubblegum right now, but after it healed and healed like a sunburn, it would begin to look like his other tats. Not that he'd notice much, since it was on his back. I'm gonna assume this is okay and normal standard procedure for a tattoo shop. I've never been to one. I've never had tattoos. Also, who the fuck is this lady we keep referring to? How is she important? Oh, she's some religious person the characters know. Who cares? If she's not a part of this story, she doesn't need to be mentioned. He paid Bitsy at the front table, the cash and credit card machine discreetly hidden in a drawer, and I went into the staff room. Joel and Ace had gone home at 10 o'clock, because they weren't relevant to the story, I guess, but just by the way, there's a Joel and an Ace. It was 11 now, and Bitsy and I were going to call it a day. At night? Or in the day? I mean, I'm assuming this is at night, but it could have been in the morning. I could hear Bitsy's stool sliding across the floor in the room I just vacated. She'd already taken care of the books for the day, usually my job as boss, but she was capable and knew I'd be toast after hours with Jesus. And she was trashing the disposable needles, leftover ink, ink cups, and gloves. The needle bar would be put in the autoclave for sterilization. I mean, granted, you work at a tattoo shop, and I guess it's nice to get a little background on that, but does it really matter to the story? I started sketching and design for the next day on the light table. I thought you guys were going home. Why are you still working? Bitsy had turned off the sound system, and it was too quiet. I grabbed the remote for the small TV set in the corner. Again, I thought you guys were going home. I should have called Tim to tell him about Kelly right away after Willis left. Or you could have told What's-His-Face about it. Instead, you were just an asshole. Because her face was plastered across the screen on the local news. But the anchor didn't call her Kelly Masters. Apparently, her real name was Elise Lyon. Chapter 3. Tim waited until after he got off the phone with his people at the police department before interrogating me. You didn't think to call? I knew Tim would be upset, as he should be, because he's a fucking cop and there's somebody missing or whatever the fuck. We were standing in the kitchen, and by the way, I was a witness too, so yeah, I'm kind of a fuck. I still had my messenger bag over my shoulder, but Tim had been home for a while and was wearing a pair of sweats and a t-shirt touting the Mets. 'Cause you needed to know that, I guess. I got busy. I spent 4 hours on this Jesus tat. There wasn't time to call. I figured I'd tell you when I got home. Because it couldn't be, like, life important that the cops had this information. You could have got somebody killed because you were too much of an asshat. It was a lame excuse. I had 20 minutes before the kids showed, and I spent the time gossiping about Kelly Masters with everyone in the shop. I didn't know why the cops were looking for her, I said when he didn't say anything. The TV reporter hadn't said much either, except that anyone who'd seen her should call the cops. You know what would have been a better excuse? It was like, that guy's kind of an asshole. Oh well. I don't fucking know, man. Or that cop seemed fishy, or I didn't trust him, or he was a dick to me, or something. That would have made more sense than you being an asshole. That cop didn't tell me anything. There wasn't any reason to tell you anything. Just wanted to know if I recognized her. Which you didn't answer one way or the other. I'm not clairvoyant. If a cop is looking for somebody, it's probably pretty fucking important. You're not wanting to take blame that is rightfully yours. Stop being an asshole. I was babbling over my guilt. Good, I'm glad you feel guilty, as you should. I knew something was amiss the minute he showed me the picture. Then why didn't you do anything about it? It didn't matter how much I tried to talk myself out of it. With Bitsy or with Tim, Kelly or Elsie was in trouble. And Bitsy and I had seen her. But being a tattooist is sort of like being a psychiatrist. Some people come to us discreetly, and they expect discretion in return. Okay, look, all that shit kind of goes out the window when the cops are involved. So unless they've signed papers of, like, doctor-patient level of protection here, you tell the fucking cops or your ass gets arrested for obstructing justice. So, be honest with the cops, possibly save somebody's life, or sit your ass in jail for a while and, I think, pay a fine. I had to tread that line carefully. Dude, there was nothing stopping you from telling this cop that, yeah, I've seen her. Her name is Kelly Masters. She wanted a tattoo of somebody named Matthew. That's all I know. She was in here 2 days ago. Didn't show up for a tattoo, so I said whatever the fuck. She probably chickened out and didn't bother canceling the appointment. Stuff happens. But no, you had to be a dick, so I would have... You know the whole reason why this character did that to start with? It's so that it could give her motivation to figure out what happened to this character she fucked over. A way to redeem herself. And this could have entirely worked had it been written differently. But I really don't give a fuck right now, because it wasn't written better, and it certainly wasn't written differently. Things would have been different had this cop showed up and been super fishy. Or if she had said her tattoo parlor was in a questionable part of town where snitches usually got their ass handed to them. But she outwardly says that she's, like, next to, like, name brand fashions and Godiva, like, name brand chocolates, expensive shit. There's nothing for her to worry about here. Nothing at all. In fact, the police should be a welcome to the area, because that means they keep hookers and stupid bullshit out. So you can have legit customers, not be frightened off by pimps and gangbangers. I've never been to Las Vegas. I don't know anything about Las Vegas. But it blows my mind that we can't follow simple logic. Tim reached into the fridge, grabbed the milk, and poured himself a glass. He was drawing this out. Why? So what's her story? And I'm sticking to it. I tried to sound nonchalant. Oh, you're asking this. I thought he was asking it. I tried to sound nonchalant, shrugging the bag over my head and slinging it onto one of the chairs at the table. Nothing you need to worry about as long as you're telling me everything. He took a long drink, leaving a milk mustache. He didn't wipe it away. I guess that's supposed to be funny? I am. We'll need to talk to Bitsy, too. Of course. Bitsy was already anticipating that. She'd come up with more possibilities as we locked up the shop. Rape, domestic violence, maybe Kelly was a terrorist. If that turns out to be the end plot of this book, it's going right out the fucking window in this entire series as well. A little extreme, but I had to admit it might not be out of the realm of possibility, considering this day and age, possibly. Especially since Tim was being just as close-mouthed about it as Willis had been. Is she super fucking rich then? Is it political? The police chief's wife? I don't know. I thought I'd have been a shoo-in to find out the whole story once I got home. Should have known better. You know, you could have, instead of telling my brother, I thought I'd ask if he heard anything about this lady that was missing. And, maybe he would have been more open to tell you about this shit. I don't know, had you not withheld information from the cops themselves? Tim and I had been living together for 2 years now. He'd left our childhood home in northwestern New Jersey and moved to Las Vegas 10 years ago, getting a job as a blackjack dealer. As you do. A year of that was enough, and he ended up at the police academy, training to be a cop like our father. It's in the DNA. Sure. I would say this. It would be more likely to be in your DNA, and I'm using air quotes here, if, your grandfather and your dad had been cops. Or several different siblings and cousins had also become cops. That would be okay, yeah, your family's just kind of naturally inclined to go in that direction. He bought the house in Henderson 3 years ago when he and his ex-girlfriend, Shauna, because I needed to know who that was, had toyed with the idea of getting married. Well, he'd been toying with the idea, but she was dead serious. After a year, when she finally realized there was no diamond in her future, because she didn't ask him if he was sure or not. I mean, you could talk this over. Since it hasn't been said, I'm assuming, they just kind of fucked around for a bit and then she left. She moved out and he was stuck with the mortgage. Because you bought the house for her and didn't bother to put it in her name as well. So he got on the phone trying to convince me that living in the desert would be heaven compared to scraping ice off my windshield in Jersey. No kidding. He also had a friend, Flip, who was selling his business. I see. I had some money saved up, and Mickey said it was time for me to move on. I'd worked in the ink spot for 8 years, starting as a trainee right out of college. Mickey taught me everything he could, and I was getting too comfortable. In what? How? I needed a challenge. Buying a flip shop seemed like a plan, because you can totally go from trainee to suddenly business owner in just a matter of a couple of months to a year or so. That sounds reasonable. Not to say somebody couldn't do it, but it takes a very flexible person who can manage a business on top of working at that business and maintaining employees and doing accounting and making sure all your money's there and customers are happy and all that crap. It's hard. And this character doesn't really seem like that kind of a person. So here I was, a woman who owned her own business, and I was about to start whining like a kid on the playground because my brother wouldn't share information with me. Contradictions are what make people interesting. Yeah, play your bullshit up like it's a positive trait. Can you give me a little hint? Did she do something? Is she hiding? Is she that like that crazy runaway bride. The moment I said it, I wondered if that was it. She'd been wearing that huge rock. She wanted devotion ink, but she never came back. Trouble in paradise. From the flush that crawled up Tim's neck, I knew I was right about which one of the bullshit things you made up. But he could be as stoic as the next cop among his own, and with real criminals, but with his sister he caved every time. Because I control him, I guess. He has an off switch, and I know how to press it. I grinned. That's it, isn't it? She was supposed to get married, but she took off. Couldn't handle it or something, right? Tim put his glass in the sink and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, which he then wiped on his sweats. You can think what you like, he said. I'm going to bed. I have to get up early. He brushed past me, his eyes on the floor. He paused before turning toward his room. Oh, Willis asked a lot of questions about you. Willis? That cop? Wait. Okay, that's strange. I've never seen that before. So she's asking a question, which is Willis? Because she's remembering the guy from the first chapter. But it's just that one word that's the question, that guy's name, and then quotation marks. That cop? In quotations. That is weird and off-putting. I don't know why that couldn't be the, two sentences together in that she's asking. Or you could have just not had Willis there and just had that cop I asked. That's just a little weird. I mean, I don't think it's grammatically wrong, but I've never seen anyone do that before. You're kidding, right? Tim chuckled. He couldn't understand why you would do what you do. Did you enlighten him? Not my place. So the dude didn't know that you were his sister? I don't know, whatever, doesn't fucking matter. I thought a second. I never mentioned that you were my brother. Brett, you're almost as tall as I am. You've got red hair like me, and our faces look almost exactly the same, except I shave, and you don't have my freckles. When he heard your last name, he put it together. Then why didn't he just say anything? Whatever. Good night. Oh, well, granted, it's not like it fucking mattered, but whatever. He disappeared into his bedroom. Willis was the first to express curiosity about my career choice. I don't know, you're a lady, you like art and tattoos. It seemed like a normal way to go to me. My mother still grabbed for the smelling salts when someone put the word tattoo in front of artist to describe me. Granted, I'd started out as a painter, but I liked to eat, earn money. Tattoos were profitable enough to buy a business. Maybe. I haven't asked any of the local tattoo shops how much they make, and if any of this in this book is plausible. People should just mind their own business. Fair enough. I don't know why you gotta be so hateful about it. I rummaged through the fridge and found some leftover fried rice and a small bottle of, Pellegrino? Taking them over to the long brown leather couch in the living room, because you're just going to eat that shit cold, I picked up the remote and turned on the 52-inch flat-screen TV. Being a cop sure pays well, I guess. That hung on the far wall. Tim had done some serious electronics shopping after Shauna left. Besides the TV, a surround sound audio system had been wired through the house. And yet, he got suckered with the mortgage payments. Why buy all this shit when you could just drop a load right into the mortgage payments and make a dent that way? I don't know. Whatever. That doesn't make any fucking sense. I dropped a few grains of rice on the leather and wiped them up with my finger before starting to channel surf. Again, why are you eating this shit cold? I couldn't decide what I wanted to watch, so I ended up on CNN. I tend to, put it on jewelry TV just for some background noise while I go do something else with my time, but I guess to each their own. The volume was low, so I wouldn't bother Tim, and Lou Dobbs, whoever the fuck that is, was going on about illegal immigration for the umpteenth time. It was white noise while I ate. In that case, jewelry TV is far Well, maybe they don't get Jewelry TV out that far west. It's a local station here. They're based in Knoxville, so it's not really a stretch for me to like, oh, channel 23 or whatever channel it is. I'm gonna watch some Jewelry TV while I draw or work on this video or do some art, or I said art twice. This is how much of a fuck I do not give. I was about to bring my empty dish to the sink when the top news stories of the day flashed on the screen. One of them caught my eye. Why that needed its own separate sentence, paragraph, I don't know. Missing woman traced to Las Vegas. I put my plate back on the coffee table and turned the sound up as the two anchors began their reports. I had to wait until after a story about a tornado somewhere in Arkansas and another about the housing crisis. Again, why this fucking matters and we don't get to the point, I don't know. Finally, we didn't need that finally there. Just go into the news report. Stop trying to fill out your word count. A woman reported missing 3 days ago by her fiancé was spotted in Las Vegas casino. Ellis Lyon of Philadelphia had an airline ticket to Los Angeles on Tuesday, but she never boarded the plane. Her car was found in long-term parking at Dulles International Airport in Washington, D.C. Somehow she got into Las Vegas, and if she flew any sort of commercial airline, it was likely she used the same name she'd given me, Kelly Masters, rather than her own. Otherwise, they would have tracked her down by now. It was hard these days to get through airport security, however. They checked photo IDs against boarding passes. I wondered about fake IDs. With technology available today to anyone, it wouldn't be hard to produce something passable. At any time that I could think of, it probably wouldn't be hard to do something passable. Or maybe she chartered a flight, or took the train, or a bus. Scratch that. The chartered flight maybe, but totally not a bus. She didn't have that look about her. Or she could have checked into a motel and woke up or something. I mean, you don't know how long she was there for. Tim's call to the department about her name obviously wasn't on the media's radar yet. The wedding is scheduled for tomorrow in Philadelphia at her parents' estate, but it looks as if the bride will leave the groom at the altar. Also, why is this being reported on national news? Did she steal a shit ton of money? Is her life in danger? That was harsh. Not really, no. I felt for Matthew. I could only be on a first-name basis with him because that was all I knew of him. Elise Lyon's parents are not speaking to the media, but her future father-in-law, developer Bruce Manning, via satellite. Bruce Manning? Wow. Now that was a household name. He made Donald Trump look like a backer. How relevant to today's politics. He made Donald Trump look like a bag person. Manning owned properties all over the country, and he just opened a swanky new resort and casino on the Strip. Okay, now this makes a little more sense as to why she'd be nationwide news. He called it Versailles, and having been to the real one, I could vouch for how authentic it looked, because a tattoo shop employee/owner would be able to get the money and find the time to go all the way over there and hang out for a bit, and then come back. Again, I don't know how much a tattoo shop makes. And then again, she's in a really swanky part of town, but then again, she's not allowed to actually advertise that she has a tattoo shop. So how she's actually getting business, like new business, I don't know. So I don't know how she's actually making money to go on trips like that. It was that Vegas illusion again. What do you think happened to your future daughter-in-law, Mr. Manning? Yeah, Manning. We just want to make sure she's safe. Manning's bright white hair was perfectly coiffed. His tie perfectly knotted. He looked directly at the camera as he spoke, his words measured and firm. I leaned forward in my seat as if I'd missed something if I didn't. My son has been devastated by Elise's disappearance. None of us believed she would leave of her own accord. I'm sure, being a businessman, obviously you'd save face. Do you believe foul play is involved? You have to talk to the police about that. But you believe she was taken to Las Vegas against her will? This was better than the soaps. You're an asshole, friend. Although my encounter with Kelly, or Elise, or whatever she's calling herself today, didn't indicate she was someone who'd been kidnapped. She'd been a little nervous, but no one else was hovering around. She was alone, and if someone had kidnapped her, why would she be allowed to go to a tattoo parlor for Devotion Inc.? She'd said it was a surprise for her fiancé. Maybe she just took a quick trip before the wedding to unwind, get the tack, go home, get hitched. She could easily turn up tomorrow in Philadelphia in her white dress and pearls. Possibly. Though I don't know why she'd go all the way to fucking Las Vegas for that. I wondered why her parents weren't going public. Did they think that having Bruce Manning on the air would be enough to generate interest and thus lead police to their daughter? I don't know, maybe they're being kept quiet. I mean, if this Manning family is like as much of a billionaire as you claim they are, and she comes from a much lower financially standing family, it would be easy for this guy to bully her parents into not saying anything. And what about the groom? Where was he? Fucking around? I don't know. I'd been so engrossed in my own thoughts that I didn't hear the rest of the interview with Bruce Manning, but I was paying attention when the two anchors grimly discussed the report afterward. Bruce Manning had just opened for Sally's. We covered this, the newest, most extravagant Las Vegas resort. His son, Bruce Manning Jr., who goes by the nickname Chip, is dividing his time between his father's New York City development offices and the new resort. He and Elise Lyon have planned to move into a penthouse in one of his father's buildings on the Upper West Side of Manhattan after their wedding, because they would make that fucking public, I guess. We can only hope Elise Lyon is found safe. Anyone with any information about her should contact the local police department immediately. What local police department? Their particular local police department? The Las Vegas police department? The New York police department? Which one? I saw right through the picture of Kelly/Elise as it popped up on the screen. My brain was a few sentences back. Kelly Elise had wanted her devotion hat to say Matthew. Her fiancé's name was Chip, or Bruce. Who's Matthew? And who the fuck cares? 'Cause I sure don't. If you want something to read and you can look past the bullshit that's going on, you'll probably like this. As it stands, it's not for me. I can't stand the characters that are obviously a bunch of dickholes, especially the main character. And we really haven't done anything except, gee, I wonder who this is. Like, what investigating have we done? At least when I'm reading something like Savannah, by chapter 2, we're involved in what's going on. We're doing something rather than having a little pouty sissy fit in our brother's house. And that's really just how I feel about it. I don't know. I don't think the author's necessarily bad, but I think in some ways she's trying too hard to be like, hey, look, I'm cute, I'm clever, ain't this cool? And isn't my heroine, like, badass? I'm like, no, she's a dickhole who's putting somebody possibly in danger just because she wants to be, excuse the language, a giant cunt. Yeah, that's my thoughts on this book. I'm Caleb, and this has been Read Not. Thank you for listening. Bye!